South Korea, land of the morning calm. One of the fastest growing nations on Earth. With a population of over 50 million people, this is a highly urbanized country and a leader in technological innovation. Possessing ultra-modern cities and a globally influential pop culture, South Korea is one of Asia's most developed nations. But this is also an ancient land, boasting stunning natural landscapes, a number of World Heritage Sites, and a rich and diverse culture. This aerial journey will travel to the most significant locations across the country to discover how both its ancient traditions and forward thinking have shaped modern-day Korea. Our journey will take us from the heart of the peninsula in Seoul, moving south towards the city of Gwangju, and finally to the Jeollanam-do region, where we will uncover more of Korea's iconic culture and ancient history. We start our journey in a city located to the northwest of the country, Seoul. Seoul is the capital of South Korea. This is a megacity, home to more than 10 million people. In fact, nearly half of South Korea's entire population lives in the Seoul National Capital Area, which also includes Incheon and Gyeonggi, making it the second largest metropolitan area in the world. Recently, major global events such as the 1988 Olympics and the 2002 FIFA World Cup were hosted in Seoul. And today, people around the world recognize the city as a center of Northeast Asia's business and trade. But as well as having one of the most advanced technological infrastructures in the world, the capital still places great importance in preserving its history, culture, and tradition. Seoul has been continuously inhabited for over 2,000 years and was the capital of South Korea throughout the Joseon dynasty and the Korean Empire. During Japanese colonization of Korea in the early 20th century, Seoul became known as Gyeongseong. But the city was renamed Seoul after its independence in 1945. However, not long after independence, North Korean troops occupied the city during the Korean War, and the entire city was nearly destroyed. In 1950, the Korean War brought desolation upon the country, and Seoul was left in ruins. Those who lost their lives now rest here in the National Cemetery. Korea was once a single nation, undivided. However, because of political differences, Korea was split up into the democratic South and the communist North. When North Korea invaded the South, a tragic war unfolded. Lasting more than 3 years, this bloody war resulted in around 5 million casualties and had a higher rate of civilian casualties than World War II or the Vietnam War. After the ceasefire in 1953, more than 10 million people were separated from their families, and today, Korea remains one of the world's last divided countries. The cemetery here serves as a solemn reminder of these tragedies in the hope of a peaceful future. To the north of the National Cemetery is the Han River, a large channel of water passing through the city. The Han River also flows through the very center of Seoul. In the past, Seoul's territory encompassed only the north side of the river. Today, it is extended to the south. There are a total of 31 impressive bridges connecting both riversides of Seoul, from the Han River Bridge built in 1900 to the Amsa Bridge, completed in 2015. The Han River is home to many islands in Seoul, but the only inhabited one is Yeouido. Here you'll find the so-called 63 building, an iconic landmark that was constructed in 1985. Boasting a height of 270 meters, it was the tallest building in Asia until 1987, when the OUB building was erected in Singapore. Only a few decades ago, Yeouido was nothing but wasteland. But since the 1970s, it's been modernized. As South Korea became more centralized around Seoul, Yeouido became the pillar of South Korea's political and economic activity, largely modeled on Manhattan in New York. In the middle of Yeouido is a large area that resembles New York's Central Park. And in springtime, thousands of people gather here for the annual Cherry Blossom Festival. The National Assembly building is where South Korea's parliament is organized. The 24 granite pillars are meant to symbolize the public's diverse opinions, and the light blue dome on top is said to signify the harmonious decisions reached. Now we follow the river to the east of Seoul, an area known as Jamsil, famous for the 1988 Olympic Games. This impressive bridge was built in commemoration of the Olympics. The sculpture on top represents the Olympic flame. Tragically, on May the 29th, 2001, the helicopter attempting to lower this sculpture onto the top of the bridge crashed and fell into the Han River, killing all three on board. Standing at the main entrance of the Olympic Park is the colossal World Peace Gate, with its striking winged arches designed to be the centerpiece of the large Peace Plaza. Because of Cold War tensions, many countries did not attend the previous Olympic Games in Los Angeles and Moscow. The Seoul Olympics was the first time in 12 years that almost all nations attended. Today, the Olympic Park is used for various cultural events and is a place of leisure for the city's residents and tourists. Close to the Olympic Park is the Jamsil Main Olympic Stadium. This stadium gave way to one of the biggest opening ceremonies ever seen, featuring a skydiving team descending over the stadium and forming the 5-colored Olympic rings, as well as a mass demonstration of Taekwondo. The 1988 Seoul Olympics was seen by many as international validation of South Korea's arrival as a modern country. And in 2018, the Olympics returns to the country for a second time. Near the Olympic Stadium is Lake Sokchon, a small man-made body of water that is a favorite among tourists, who come to experience its cherry blossom in spring and colorful leaves in autumn. After the Olympics, the city saw a cultural boom thanks to its strong economic growth. With an improved standard of living, people started to enjoy their leisure time more and headed to zoos, movie theaters, amusement parks, and various cultural sites. This famous theme park attracts countless visitors each year who come to enjoy the rides, as well as the beautiful scenery of the lake. The skyscraper behind the theme park is the tallest building in Korea. Towering over 555 meters, it'll be the 6th tallest building in the world. Inside, there's a 500-meter high observatory, 6-star hotel, and lavish facilities which altogether make the building Korea's next iconic landmark. We now head to the most vibrant and constantly changing area of the city, Gangnam. Gangnam rose to instant fame in 2012 through the smash hit Gangnam Style, sung by Korean pop star Park Jae-sung, better known by his stage name, Psy. The song turned the spotlight on this area, which now acts as the hub for global corporations in South Korea, such as the world's leading mobile company, Samsung, which has one of its main buildings based here in Gangnam. But with designer stores, movie theaters, bars and coffee chains galore, the streets are full of young, well-dressed teens mingling with the super rich of the city. The area is usually crowded at weekends, and over 100,000 people pass by Gangnam every day, making its subway station the busiest in Seoul. This is the Gangnam Taeran Road, where in the early 2000s, major IT venture companies helped shape Gangnam into the economic powerhouse of Korea. Indeed, rapid industrialization after the Korean War saw South Korea transform into a high-tech, global economic power. And nowhere is this more apparent than in Gangnam. On the way down the Taeran Road is the COEX International Convention Center, hosting the G20 in 2010. It boasts one of the largest conference halls in all of Asia, with a capacity of up to 7,000 people. It provides numerous exhibition halls for international trade and political gatherings. There are many apartment complexes near the Gangnam district. Seoul has a high population density, being almost twice that of New York and 8 times greater than Rome. For this reason, there are countless residential apartments in Seoul to accommodate the city's 10 million residents. But there is more to Seoul than just its impressive skyscrapers. Leaving behind the hustle and bustle of Gangnam, we now explore a very different side to Seoul. Seoul is an ancient city decorated with UNESCO-listed buildings. Many historical sites can be found in the very center of the city. The tomb of the 9th and 11th kings of the Chosun dynasty sits here at Sanjanglung. And in Seoul, there are many other royal tombs preserved in the city. The royal tomb's cultural value was officially recognized in 2009 when they were registered as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. People say that few tombs are as well preserved as the royal tombs in Sanjanglung. And it's often visited by many of Seoul's residents looking to escape the busy urban sprawl for a bit of peace and quiet reflection. We now follow the Han River northwest towards the Sangam region. The development of Seoul did not come without a price. Environmental pollution and insufficient forestry had a negative impact on the city's sustainability. To resolve these problems, Seoul planned and executed what was called the New Millennium Project during the early 2000s. Focused around the Sanam region, the work for sustainable development was launched. The Sunyu Island was once home to a beautiful mountain. However, in 1978, the water treatment plant was established and Sunyu Island's mountain was leveled to give space to the plant's construction. But in the year 2000, the city closed down the plant and restored the island to its natural habitat. This restoration made Sunyu Island the country's first repurposed ecological park. We now head to another area in Sangam, called the New Media Hub. Korea's booming media and entertainment industry gave birth to the DMC, the Digital Media City. After the 2000s, Korean pop culture began to escalate, with Korean music and dramas spreading throughout Asia and parts of the Western world. Now the Digital Media City is at the heart of Korea's TV, game, and movie industries. Next to the DMC is where the 2002 Football World Cup was held. The opening of the World Cup took place in the main stadium of Sangam. This particular stadium was the first to deviate from the conventional oval-shaped design. This instead is based on the shape of the traditional Korean kite. The roof was modeled on the boat masts seen on the Han River. This innovative design was widely acclaimed and was nominated as one of the 10 most stunning soccer stadiums in the world. Next to the stadium stands Nanji Island. This used to be the tallest landfill in the world, at 98 meters high. Before it became a landfill, Nanji Island was home to thousands of birds and was famous for its rich flora. The island has since been restored to its original beauty and now goes by the name of the Sky Park. During autumn, the white reed grasses are in full bloom, and since the year 2000, around 30,000 butterflies have been released on the island, meaning it is not unusual to see them flying about the park. These beautiful sights attract thousands of visitors who also come for the scenic views of Seoul in every direction. These spectacular vistas can be fully enjoyed from the observation platform, where visitors can take a short rest and enjoy the peaceful atmosphere of the park. Just next to the Sky Park is the Sunset Park, where you can enjoy the most impressive sunset in Seoul. Its simple design and impressive artistic monuments are a favorite among locals and tourists. The perfect place to end our time in the capital city. Seoul is a city that has undergone an incredible transformation. Even after the Korean War, it has continued to develop at an astonishing speed, but puts a great deal of importance on sustainable growth. Seoul has bloomed into a cultural capital with high-profile architecture, top museums, and an influential arts scene. As one of the most economically powerful cities in the world, the future of Seoul has never been more exciting. Leaving Seoul, we head to Gwangju City, which is known to be the birthplace of democracy in Korea. The latter years of the 20th century were a significant time for democratic movements around the world, including South Korea. And here, in the city of Gwangju, is where the Korean people stood up against dictatorship and paved the way for democracy in the country. With the assassination of the South Korean president Park Chung-hee in 1979, the country was thrown into chaos, opening the way for a military dictatorship. The newly formed government brutally oppressed its citizens, and the desire for a democratic society spread throughout the nation. However, the people's hopes were dashed when the government ordered nationwide martial law on May 17, 1980. And in Gwangju, the military deployed special forces troops to silence the cries for democracy. The events that followed would change the political landscape forever. With martial law in effect, schools and universities were forced to close. More than 200 students in Gwangju rose up in protest in response to their government's orders. The result was a ruthless retaliation from the military. The enraged citizens of Gwangju poured onto the streets and joined the students. More than 100,000 people marched down the main street of Gwangju. The government cut off all supplies and isolated the city, both by road and from all media and communication. The military began to open fire on the protesters. Witnessing their friends and family being slaughtered in this way, the people of Gwangju formed a citizen militia to fight against the military. The bloody events that followed would later be known as the May 18th Democratic Uprising. These buildings were all witness to the tragic early history of Korea's democratic movement. The City Hall is where the 200-strong militia made their final stand against the army. After an hour of fighting, the City Hall was captured, and the Gwangju militia stood their ground till the very end. In just 10 days, the uprising resulted in over 3,000 casualties, the greatest loss of life due to conflict in the country since the Korean War. Events at Gwangju may have geared nearby countries in Asia into action. Not long after the events here, many of South Korea's neighbors started to stand up to injustice and dictatorship in their own countries. In the end, the uprising was not an immediate success, but the spirit of resistance shown by the militia inspired a democratic victory 7 years later. This is the cemetery of the Gwangju Democratic Uprising. The cemetery was subsequently renamed the May 18th National Cemetery. For many years, the dictating government labeled these people rioters, but the truth soon surfaced. UNESCO was a strong believer that the Gwangju Uprising had an impact on nations far beyond the Korean Peninsula, and that the surviving monuments should be considered important landmarks for democracy around the world. In 2011, the records of the May 18th Democratic Uprising were registered on the UNESCO Memory of the World. We now head to the Jeollanam-do province in the southwest region of Korea. Being located between Japan and China, Korea has been frequently invaded throughout its history, and this small Jeongdo Island in the Won-do area holds many memories of such invasions. Known for its historic naval base, Cheonghae was established by General Jung in 828 in the Shilla period during the 9th century. Jung began life as a common civilian. He moved to China and rose through the ranks of the military to become an officer thanks to his remarkable skills in combat. He later returned to Shilla to find the country being ransacked by pirates and his people being captured and sold as slaves. General Jung urged the king to put him in charge of Cheonghae to defend the peninsula. Impressed by Jung's boldness, the king appointed him as the commander of Cheonghae. In his first act as commander, General Jung established the naval base, now known as Cheonghae-jin. Jeongdo Island has a geographical advantage in that it is surrounded by numerous islands, which act as a barrier to any possible attack. It also gave the Korean fleet access to Japan. The name Cheonghae means to cleanse the sea. It reflects General Jung's ambition to eradicate all pirates who threatened the nation. Almost 1,000 years later, the island of Jindo to the south was the stage of another historic battle, this time against an invading Mongol army. Jindo was the base of the Sambyul Cho, a special defense unit during the Mongol invasion of 1270. The Sambyul Cho was an army of the finest Korean warriors. Although the Goryeo dynasty of medieval Korea had already surrendered to Mongol rule, these soldiers were determined to fight to the last man and soon gained the support of the people. Jindo Island was where the Sambyul Cho arrived with 1,000 ships to make their stand. With a perimeter of over 13 kilometers, Yongjung Fort was a formidable military base. This is where the Sambyul Cho put up their fierce resistance against the Mongols for 9 months. Although most of the fort was destroyed, the inner palace has been restored, along with the sites of 12 stone buildings. Here we have Namdo-jin Fort. It is estimated to have been built during the Three Kingdoms period. This fort was constructed for coastal defense and was where the Sambyul Cho continued to hold off the Mongolian army until they were eventually forced back to Jeju Island. The Sambyul Cho's tireless 3.5-year battle to defend the country ended in 1273, when the Mongols advanced to finally take the last of their defenses. Considering the might of the Mongol army, the 3.5 years that the Sambyel Cho resisted is worthy of admiration. Chola Namdo Province also saw the rise of another legendary naval general, Admiral Yi Sun-shin. He led 23 battles against invading Japanese forces in the 16th century and defeated them 23 times. Born in 1545, Admiral Yi became commander of the Chola region in 1591, just 1 year before the Japanese invasion. Admiral Yi led the battles against the Japanese invasion for 7 years, and since then he has been recognized as Korea's most iconic hero. This is the town of Yijin, where Admiral Yi came to regroup before the famous Battle of Myeongyang. The Korean fleet had been partially destroyed after a disastrous recent battle under Admiral Won, who died at sea along with any realistic hope of resisting the Japanese Navy. Admiral Yi was now left with just 13 remaining ships under his command. He faced impossible odds against the might of the enormous Japanese Navy. As the stone plaque here recounts, the remaining depleted fleet docked here at Yijin under terrible weather conditions, and Admiral Yi began to make plans for the battles ahead, knowing full well that they would be heavily outnumbered. After leaving Yijin, Admiral Yi headed towards the naval base at Oranjin, where they waited for the first wave of Japanese warships to arrive. When the Japanese finally attacked at Oranjin, Admiral Yi and his fleet were ready. They managed to fight off the Japanese ships, and this hard-won victory greatly boosted the morale of the sailors. But this was just the beginning, and the Great Battle of Myeongyang was still to come. Today, 400 years after these events, Oranjin has now become the home of many fishermen. Out at sea where the sound of cannons once roared, locals are out gathering seaweed. The fishermen of now peaceful Oranjin owe a great deal to the courage of Admiral Yi. After victory at Oranjin, the Japanese fleet retreated. Admiral Yi predicted that the Japanese fleet would now have to pass through Byakba, and so he docked here for 15 days at Byakba port. Here he made preparations for the next wave of Japanese ships. The records engraved on this stone monument at Byakba preserve the history of the epic Battle of Myeongyang, a battle that will be remembered for centuries to come. But before this grand battle, Admiral Yi managed to destroy 13 Japanese ships here at Byakba as a way to lure the Japanese fleet right into the dangerous Myeongyang Straits. Not so far from Byakba was a large naval base called Wusuyang. Located south of the capital during the Chosun dynasty, it held more than 1,000 naval troops and was the command center for most naval operations in the Chola Namdo region. Having sunk those 13 Japanese ships at Byakba, knowing that it would bring the enemy to him, Admiral Yi now moved his fleet here so that the Korean fleet could use the fierce currents and narrow straits of Wusuyang to defeat the invading Japanese. We now arrive at the strait in front of Wushu-yang, called Aldolmon, or as it has been known since the Chosun dynasty, Myeonyang, the site of the epic battle. The sound of the crashing waters of this strait can be heard from 8 kilometers away. The day before the battle, Admiral Yi gathered his commanders and delivered a rousing speech. "Those willing to die shall live, and those willing to live shall die." Even today, his famous words are remembered by many Korean people and continue to be a source of inspiration and courage. The Myeonyang Strait is only 300 meters wide, and the tide changes 4 times a day. This produces large, powerful whirlpools. By harnessing the natural power of the waters and luring the Japanese fleet into the straits, Admiral Yi was able to lead his 13 ships to victory against the Japanese fleet of 133. An unprecedented naval triumph in world history, and one that Admiral Yi himself claimed to be nothing short of a miracle. Back on land, we come to the tomb of Kim Dok-ryong at Chungjeong Temple, a 16th century general who fought courageously during the Japanese invasion. He led a militia, a self-trained group of volunteers against the invading Japanese. Kim assembled more than 5,000 volunteers and led the militia to many victories, and the militia's courageous determination is remembered to this day. Modern Korea is founded on this very spirit of resilience. Korea is opposed to injustice, and its people are always ready to protect their homeland, no matter the costs. Over the centuries, Korea has courageously fought off invaders and aggressors, often against impossible odds. Yet in spite of its turbulent relationship with its neighbors, Korea has rarely invaded other countries. Let us now discover the true, peaceful spirit of the Korean peninsula through some of its most serene temples and places of refuge in the Chollonamdo province. Located in Yasu, this is Hyangiram, meaning the temple facing the sun, and is an important Buddhist prayer site in Korea. Every New Year, people around the country gather here to see the famous sunrise and to pray. Legend has it that passing by the 7 temples of Hyangiram will make your wishes come true. Over the centuries, because of frequent invasions, the people of Korea have often come here and prayed for peace. Close to Yasu is Suncheon Bay. As the largest mudflat in South Korea, it once seemed impossible to develop and was neglected for hundreds of years. More recently, it was discovered that the mudflats help to remove pollution from the water flowing from the mainland, and Suncheon Bay is now a protected ecological park. Suncheon Bay is the world's most circular coastal wetland and is protected by the Ramsar Wetlands Convention. These circular reed fields have been naturally formed and are growing bigger each year, adding to the size of this magnificent natural landscape. Boarding the boats and following the curve of the canal is a truly relaxing experience and an excellent way to appreciate this peaceful setting. Suncheon Bay is one of the most spectacular places to see the sunset in Korea, and countless visitors gather here every evening to take in the view. To the northeast of Suncheon Bay is Naganipsong, home to the last Chosun dynasty castle in Jeollanam-do. Today, Naganipsong town is a beautifully restored folk village, which faithfully preserves the town's original layout and surrounding walls. These walls were initially made from clay, but were later rebuilt to withstand Japanese invaders in the mid-Chosun dynasty. While many of these walls have now crumbled, the inhabitants of Naganipsong continue many of the town's historical traditions still to this day. According to records kept during the Chosun dynasty, there were over 330 of these fortress towns around the Korean peninsula. During the Japanese occupation, many of them were destroyed or dismantled. However, Naganipsong, along with its inhabitants, remains nearly untouched, the town becoming a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2011. The site of the village has actually been inhabited since the beginning of the first millennia. The area was selected as a fortress village in the early 10th century by the Goryeo dynasty, but began to truly flourish in the late 1300s under the Chosuns. Further west is Sonam. A quiet Buddhist temple lies almost hidden deep in the mountains. The temple has been reconstructed and renovated numerous times after it was damaged by several invading forces. It was also damaged during the Korean War, but has since been repaired. On each occasion, the temple was built to match the original design, which respects the harmony of its natural surroundings. A Buddhist temple in the Korean style, Sonam Temple is surrounded by 500-year-old trees of 80 different varieties. The trees give the temple a unique atmosphere of serenity, quite different from other Buddhist temples. A refuge from the hustle and bustle of the modern world, people from the city frequently visit the temple and stay during weekends to revitalize. To the west of Sonam Temple is the Hwasun district, where we find another unique Buddhist temple. Famous for the 1,000 Buddhist statues and stone towers, the Wunju Temple in Hwasun is a fascinating place. These stone relics are said to represent different eras in history. Although many of them have been removed, it remains unclear when or how the 1,000 statues and towers disappeared. Now only 70 stone towers and 12 Buddhist statues remain, barely enough to remind us that the Wunju Temple was once home to 1,000 of these priceless cultural artifacts. The Seven-Star Rock is said to take after the Big Dipper constellation. This massive rock statue is 12 meters long and weighs over 250 tons. Legend says that when the statue rises up, the world will be completely reborn, giving way to 1,000 years of peace. The people who come to visit this mystical and tranquil temple pray in hope of such a bright and peaceful future. We now head towards one of the most ancient natural wonders in Korea. Resembling the Yangtze River Cliff in China, the Hwasun Red Cliffs are 7 kilometers long and more than 150 million years old. Many poets of the Chosun dynasty were captivated by the sight of these cliffs and wrote numerous poems dedicated to their beauty. Today, the area is open to the public, although special permission is required from the authorities, as the area is protected by the local government in an effort to preserve the quality of the water. To the southwest of Hwasun is Jindo Island. The island is separated from the mainland by the Myeongyang Strait, where Admiral Yi won the Battle of Myeongyang in 1597. There are approximately 2,200 islands situated in the Chola-Namdo region, and the island of Jindo is the largest. At certain times in the year, the sea reveals a path that leads from the mainland to a connecting island. It is also where the annual boat show takes place. The path appears only twice a year, in March and October for just a few days. The path that surfaces is 2.8 kilometers long and 40 meters wide. The time window in which one can cross is small, just 1 to 2 hours. Thousands of people come here every year to walk across to Jindo. If the phenomenon happens late at night, participants carry torches across, lighting up this astonishing landscape. A truly spectacular sight. On the final stop on our journey, we arrive at the southernmost tip of the Korean peninsula, Haenam. Mihwang Temple on Taima Mountain is over 1,000 years old. While it may look like any other ordinary temple, its location at the southernmost tip of Korea means that few people are ever able to visit, making it the perfect place for quiet reflection. Near the peak of Taima Mountain is a small temple known as Dosoram. In the rugged terrain of Taima Mountain, Dosoram provides shelter to the weary traveler and is a popular spot for meditation. Having been burned down during the 16th century Japanese invasion, only its ruins remained until 2002, when the small temple was rebuilt with help from local monks. This village is known locally as the Edge of the Land. An ordinary fishing village, it is home to the Edge of the Land Tower, which marks not only the southernmost tip of the Korean peninsula, but also the end of the Eurasian continent. A fitting end to our journey across this spectacular country. Korea is home to some of Asia's most impressive landscapes and astonishingly well-preserved historical sites. But this is also a country with an exciting future ahead of it. Admiral Yi would be proud to note that South Korea is now the world's largest shipbuilder. Korea also boasts the world's fastest internet speeds, and several polls place Korea as the most innovative country in the world. For 5,000 years, whether facing down powerful invaders or rising from the desolation of war, the unbreakable spirit of Korea has never faltered.